Hey friends, it's Jason. Welcome back. And today we are talking about one of my most anticipated reads of 2022. I was really looking forward to this book and it did not disappoint. Today we're talking about John Gwynne's second book in his Bloodsworn Saga series, Hunger of the Gods. This book picks right up where Shadow of the Gods, the first book in the series, left off. You can see here that they both have amazing covers. This one started with the dragon Ligrifa, which is a major character in all of these books. And I mean, that cover is absolutely stunning. And you know what? This one is also just as stunning. The only thing that I don't like that they did with this cover versus this cover is if you look down here at the bottom, they put John Gwynne's name from up here to down on the bottom. To me, that distracts from the cover art itself. I think that they should have just left this as part of the artwork as they did with the first. I don't understand why publishers change covers during series. It baffles me a little bit because the author's name is on here. They have the quote at the top and they shifted the author's name down here to get the quote in where the author's name was in the first cover. I don't like that. I don't like it when they do that. Spines, fortunately, are the same. As you can see, Hunger of the Gods is a little bit thicker than the second book, or the first book, sorry. And there is a reason for that, and we'll get into that in a minute. But like I said, this book picks up right where I left off in the first book, and it does not disappoint. One thing you know about me, I like a map. It does have a good map in here. It's the same map as in the first book. There's a pronunciation guide for certain vowels and letters that are used in names and titles and things like that that I really appreciate, that helps you. You know how sometimes in fantasy novels you have a hard time, how do I pronounce this name? Am I saying this right, etc., etc. So one thing, this will help you with that. There is a cast of characters at the front of the book, which is amazing, and it breaks it down, the different groups, the Bloodsworn and the Raven Feeders and their companions, and all the other characters that are in the book, and that's really, really helpful. It gives you the chance to be able to go back and go, you know, who is that again? So that helps a lot. So far, it's giving you a list of creatures that are in the book, and I mean, obviously that list is probably going to expand in book 3 depending on what occurs throughout these books. There's a Norse titles, terms, and items list, which is a couple of pages long, which is amazing. That helps as well. And one of the biggest selling points that I love, and I wish more fantasy books did this, because sometimes we're waiting 1 and 2 years between these books. There was about a year between these two books. And if you can see it here, it says what has gone before. So basically what that is a summary of the first book before you start book 2. That's amazing. I love that. And I wish more books did that. Publishers, authors, more books need summaries. If you have multiple series books, this would be fantastic for readers. Very helpful. So as I said, you can see that this book is a bit thicker than the first book. This book is just over 600 pages, and this one is just over 4. So there's a couple hundred more pages in this book. The reason for that, as I mentioned earlier, is there are 2 new point of views added in this book. So we've gone from 3 in the first book with Orca, Elvar, and Varg to having 2 more, and the 2 more are characters that we already know from the first book, and I don't want to say who they are, but they are in here as well. So I'm trying to keep this spoiler free so that for those that have not read this yet can go from book 1 to book 2 and not have any surprises. But there are 2 additional point of views in this book. Now, one thing I did notice that slows the book down just a little bit because of those 2 other perspectives. There is a bit of a pacing issue with this book. It pays off throughout the book, but it just, like I said, it slows things down a little bit, adding those 2 extra perspectives in. As usual with John Gwynne, the battles, fight scenes, anything like that relating to war, fights, battles, etc. are extremely well written. They're very immersive. You are sucked right into these, and he does it so well. The battle scenes it feels like you're standing there in the middle of it, which is pretty incredible for a written page. That's amazing. So that's something that you can look forward to in this book that carries on with all of John Gwynne's writing, and with every book he gets better and better at it. There is further character development in this book. Obviously, you would expect that going from a first to a second book. However, there are some things that are expanded in each character. Obviously, we have the 2 new character point of views. Obviously, there's going to be character development there from the first book, because they were instrumental characters, but they were kind of side characters. We didn't focus on their point of view that much like we do in this one. And there is more character development with Orca, Elvar, and Varg. I'm still not a big fan of Elvar. She's a bit of a, I don't know, she just bugs me for some reason. She seems very restrictive in her way of thinking, and she's not very expansive. So I'm hoping that changes with some of the alterations to her lifestyle that have occurred in this book. I'm not hopeful, though. She seems very rigid in her frame of thinking. Now, Varg is still my favorite character. As much as I love Orca and I love Orca's story, I still love Varg as my favorite character. Orca's a badass. I love everything that's going on with her. The heartache of having her child stolen and her gallivanting around the world trying to find him, and it doesn't matter who's in her way, she's going to find him. That I absolutely love. She is a badass. Varg, though, there's just something about his character and his growth arc and how much he's gone from being a thrall, being a slave, to being a member of his team, and just he's really grown, and he grows even more throughout this book. He's creating a few enemies in this book, which is interesting. I'm waiting to see how that plays out in the 3rd book, and I really like what he's done with the characters in this book. The other 2 point of views are fine. One of the characters I don't like at all, but obviously you're not supposed to. So I guess I can say, bravo, John Gwynne, you've done what you needed to do with that character, because I don't like him. As I said, this book is a little slower. But it's just as good. And the end, you wait until you get there. It's definitely worth the extra 200 pages in this book. So I'm not sure when the 3rd book will be out. Now, this book came out in May of 2021. This one came out in April of 2022. So that has me guessing that book 3 will come out in April, May of 2023. I'm hoping anyway, because waiting a year between these books is brutal, and because I'm one that I want the whole story. I want to be able to go from beginning to end as quickly as I possibly can. So I definitely recommend these books. They look fantastic on a shelf. The story is immersive, and the characters are fantastic, and I definitely recommend them. So I hope that you check these out, and if you liked this review, please let me know down below your thoughts on these characters if you've read these books, or once you do. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button, see when we get to the next book, and if you liked this video, please hit the like button. It helps me out, and I'll see you again next time.